Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. It is Dr. G. I am so happy to be here with you this week. And oh my goodness, we have a very fun and extraordinary guest this week. And it is Dr. Roseann. Dr. Roseann, do you want to tell the Fearless Freedom Tribe who you are and what you are up to? Because you're up to quite a bit.
I am up to quite a bit all the time. It's called being a woman and a mother. So, but I'm Dr. Roseann Capanna-Hodge. I'm on a mission to change the way we view and treat mental health. And I have been working for 30 years, working with kids and their families, and only using proven holistic therapies to help kids with some of the most chronic issues like ADD, autism, anxiety, OCD, PANDAS, Lyme disease. And I just have had a privilege of helping so many thousands of people, really reduce and reverse the symptoms associated with these conditions over these years. So I'm really grateful. And I'm also founder of the Global Institute of Children's Mental Health. And I started that right before the pandemic, the timing. So I want everybody to know that there's natural treatments out there in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does one get involved in something like this? Like, what happened? Did you have a child that had an issue, or did you what's the backstory?
Yeah, here's my backstory. So it is my calling to be a therapist. And I was 5 years old. My mom's friend, Angela, asked me what I wanted to be. And I told her a psychiatrist. And I had no exposure to, what that was, but somehow that came out of my mouth. And then I realized that was largely somebody who recommended psychiatric medication, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to talk to people and guide them. So I changed that to a psychologist. And then I started working right in undergrad, and I've worked in psychiatric hospitals and residential treatment centers, schools all over the place. And I decided, because you could have such a huge impact with little interventions working with kids, that's what I wanted to do. And I love kids. They have such an energy. They don't know they can't get better. They don't know they can't do something. They're so open to learning. And then, of course, what happens, Dr. G, is I get my own 2 kids. I'm so good at helping kids and families who struggle with, mental health issues and special needs, that I get my own 2 kids with special needs. So,
is that right? Okay.
So I'm in it all around, and that's okay, because they're supposed to be with me, and they're great kids and they're doing great. And, there's a lot of things we can do. I look at mental health. We look at mental health is there's a limit is what you can do, that we think everything is biochemical. When I want to flip that conversation. I want to say there's no limit to what you can do, and that there's so many proven interventions that we're not having this dialogue about, which is why I'm here and out talking and doing all these podcasts and media, because people are suffering, and we want people to know about what they can do and take action on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you had this, you had the itch or the urge or the impetus from a very early age to be in the mental health space. That was not completely defined until you actually realized that, okay, I don't want to be the one that is making a diagnosis and then prescribing medication per se, but I want to be the one that's actually going to be, talking to this person or talking to these individuals and really helping them through their process via that modality. And so then you decided, okay, psychology was the way to go. And then from there, you basically honed in on the cherubs. And then you ended up getting
Cherubs. I love that.
that's what I call children. And so
Yeah.
then you then you realize that, oh my goodness, this is something that I'm really good at. And then the universe, she blessed you with 2 children who you get to practice on all the time. Is that
I
about right?
practice on them all the time. Let me tell you. And they practice on me. They make me better. Right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I talk about my kids all the time and just, all the parenting things that happen. It's the hardest job in the world is being a parent.
It is. And there's the part about it that's really difficult is that there is no instruction manual whatsoever.
None.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah. And the number one way we learn to parent is how our parents parented us. And, parents are parenting at a generation behind them. And unless, people learn a new way or have that inclination, they're parenting kids for a time that is different. Right. Yes. So even when we grew up, we didn't have all this technology overload, right? It's one of the top questions I get is how do I help my kid manage technology?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. It's a big deal.
And it's a big deal. And there is no right answer. I mean, it's what's right for each family. There's definitely things that we should be doing, but if, that wouldn't have been a conversation that couldn't have even been physically possible, when I grew up in the 70s. It was like about TV. I mean, I remember when
it was about TV. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was all about TV. And it was only, for us, we only had 3 channels. We only had 2 channels because this is Jamaica. We only had 2 channels. Yeah. It was like, well, there's nothing there. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go outside and play.
Right, exactly. I remember getting cable and my dad put a lock on it so they could have a lock. So you couldn't watch anything. So he only allowed us during certain times. So, we have these kids and, some of us have a greater sense of patience, right? Also, some of us don't understand developmentally what kids should or shouldn't be able to do. Like I remember mom coming to me, Dr. G, one time, and she said, I'm so angry at my 4-year-old. And I'm like, you're so angry at your 4-year-old. What's going on? She's like, she cannot make her bed properly.
Are you kidding?
And I said, no, I'm not. And I said, what do you think a 4-year-old bed should, what should it do? Are you asking her to just pull the covers up?
Right.
She goes, no, she needs to make her bed and it needs to be pristine. And she said that she had pulled the covers off. And I said, do you know that it's not developmentally appropriate for a child to be able to do a bed? Do you know that they don't have that strength, that ability to go over? Now, can they make their bed? Of course. Is it going to look
They can just throw the cover over it though. I mean, that's all they can do.
Yeah, throw their cover, pick some stuff up off the floor, make it look good, put the pillows.
Put the stuff in the cubby.
Yeah. But, she really, until I said that to her, she really literally did not have the idea that wasn't something she'd be able to do. She goes, I used to make my bed. I go, but it didn't.
Not at 4.
Yeah. I mean, there's no military corners on this one, sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. And she didn't have somebody in her life that she could check in with about this. Right. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So we learn from our parents. We take what is good and then we should discard what isn't useful, right? Yeah, and we should be able to do that, and their parents, no matter what kind of upbringing you had, there will be moments that are of goodness that you can take,
Absolutely. No, that's so true.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is when your parents are looking at your cherubs and they're like, well, why aren't they doing this? You were doing that. I was like, no, I wasn't doing that.
They're so different with their grandkids.
They're just fine. They're just fine.
Yeah, I know, right? Absolutely. Yeah. They'll say, well, you guys weren't on your devices like this. I'm like, we didn't have devices. I remember when Atari came out in the
2600.
My brother had it
with the cartridges and like the little flip flop, the metal switch. Turn it on and off. Change the modes.
Yeah, they didn't care if he was on it, but I wasn't on it. I was, doing other things. I was outside.
So
So
funny.
it was,
It's so funny.
so we, parents are overwhelmed right now. And,
Yeah, they are. It's so
they were
true.
overwhelmed before the pandemic, but it's pretty extreme right now. And,
Yeah.
what I think when you feel so overwhelmed, you feel like, where do I start? What do I do? Who do I trust? How do I do this? And I always say little waves create big waves, and you just have to pick one thing and start with the one thing and just be consistent about it. So if you're going to, you're going to prioritize sleep at home because your kids are crabby and you can't get them up in the morning. Well, then you're going to pick a bedtime. You're going to have a family meeting about it. And you're going to say, this is when we're going to bed and this is how it's going down. Okay. And then you have to be consistent about it. You can't be like, well, I'm going to let them stay up 15 minutes. Oh, I got to do this. No, you have to have that consistency, because without consistency, nobody's going to learn. You're going to be annoyed. Your kids are going to be annoyed, and it's a lot of friction. And then there goes that overwhelm comes back. You know what I mean? So it's so important for people to realize that, little things can create huge changes. And I just don't think we're getting that message out. Everyone thinks, oh, you're a physician, right? So you see in America, 1 in 6 people are on a psychiatric medication.
Yes, a lot of
right?
people.
But we are not a happier world.
No.
People are struggling with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, OCD, and people are feeling really comfortable being rude in the world.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. That's not cool, man.
Cool, man. Go out of your way and
just,
be nice, people.
I know. It's just not cool.
I feel like
all.
it takes so much more energy to be nasty.
It does. It does. I mean, look at this. Even think about the facial muscles and what you utilize for the different expressions. I mean, you smile, you use way less muscles than if you frown. So why not smile? It's just like that.
Well, and when you smile, endorphins get released. And then if you
so
smile
many benefits.
and somebody else smiles, and then
it's contagious. It's like a good contagious too.
Good contagious. But people, I think right now, I mean, we were already moving, let's be honest. We're moving in this direction where people feel like they can write snarky things on your Facebook or your social post.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We recently had a summit, right? A parenting summit. It was a Get Unstuck Parenting Summit. So I got a lot of beautiful emails, but what was the first email I got? Was somebody who's right away, first thing, like 7:00 in the morning, as soon as that thing started airing, how annoying that I get in my car and you don't have an audio of this summit.
Wow.
Terribly disappointing. Boom, send. And I was like, you went out of your way. We have a free summit with some
free.
of the top people in
Operative
the world.
word.
Free. And you're mad. There's not an audio file. And you sat down and composed that. Now, here's the great part of that. Probably a dozen people went out of their way to say how inspirational it was and how much it touched them and helped them. Awesome. And I was like, that's amazing. And we made a point to just be like, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Because I'm such a gratitude person, and I love when people go out of their way. And I'm really lucky on social. I get a lot of beautiful things like God bless you and, thank you. And I just adore that, because it is infectious. Right. And I think we have to flip that dialogue. But why are people rude? People are anxious and depressed.
Yeah.
They're
scared.
Really,
there's fear there. There's huge amount of fear.
Huge amount of fear. Right. Absolutely. In every decision people are making, most of the time, fear is motivating their decision.
Oh, yeah. And that was really brought to light last year. And it's still, even this year, we're still seeing that. So.
Oh, in so many ways, it was brought to light last year, and in so many of the different issues that happened. And, it's people are feeling this overwhelmed, they're feeling this stuck, and they don't really know what to do about it. And so, what I really like to talk to people about is really, building a resiliency within themselves. And how do you do that? And it always starts within, right? We have to relax our nervous system. We have to calm down. We have to stop expecting somebody else to do something for us or a pill to do something for us. We have to connect our mind, body, and spirit. And that means we have to dedicate at least 10 minutes a day to doing something like breath work or meditation or prayer. And
Yes.
when we do that, we feel better. We have a ripple effect of having that positive energy and the positiveness that comes out of you, because you're going to have more patience to the people who you love and care about and work with.
Yes, indeed.
And we're all going to be better off human beings, you know. And it means, today I did a training for professionals today, and we asked on a scale of 1 to 10 what everybody's stress level was. Not one person, 10 being the highest, 0, none, nobody's a 0. Not one person was less than a 7.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Pretty intense. And these are people that help kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's daunting. That's a little bit disturbing, actually.
Yeah. But I would say that, and you know, 4, what I like to do on a Likert scale is a 4 or less is within a normal range, right? So sometimes
Gotcha.
we have a little more stress.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have some stress.
Yeah. And maybe you have a 10 day.
Yeah, those days do happen. Even to the most grateful people.
Yeah. But, you know, but what's happening is nobody's really taking a moment. We talk about self-care, you know, we don't realize that the key to mental health is having coping skills, right? And when we have coping skills, right, and we have resiliency, resiliency is about how you view, manage, and recover from stress. And the more you're activated, hyper stress activated, which happens with good and bad stress, we just live in this stressed out. These people that I was with today, they're all 7s or above. They're hyper stress activated. So that means when a real stressor happens, you run out of gas on the highway. You get fired from your job. You get in a terrible argument with your teenager. That means how you view that stressor is going to be way more of a negative impact. You're going to feel it more strongly than somebody who is all like a 2 on the stress meter. Okay.
Got it.
If you're a 7 and a stressor happens, you don't have any wiggle room. Your physiology, you know, the autonomic nervous system, your physiology is you're already kind of hovering in the sympathetic dominant stressed out state. We want to be in parasympathetic. And so how you get around that, stress is always going to happen, people. We cannot outwit it. You have to get your nervous system into this chilled out, relaxed state. And that's by giving it 10 minutes a day of something that is very intentful, and you're going to create that space and you're going to do it, and you're not going to knock it down on the priority list. It's super, super important. And that can have such a positive impact on your mental health and your relationships with people. Because you're going to be more available.
I totally believe that.
Right? You know, you're dealing with people all the time in crisis in a hospital, right?
Yes.
And you get to see what happens, right? Some people come in and you're like, you were just in a massive car accident and you're totally charming. You know what I mean?
Yes, we do have those people.
Yes. And then you have somebody where they like, you know,
stub the toe and they're like, not nice.
Not nice.
I'm like, I'm here to help you. You came to me. I didn't come to you.
No, you know, and you know, it's I always just look at it as their system is stress activated, and we don't know what happened before they got there. But you know, my thing is, you become an adult, you got to dig in and do the work. You can't use the excuse, well, you know, I had X, Y, and Z. Right? You are here and you can be present in this moment, and you got to do that inner work. And it starts with regulating your nervous system. Then you can do other things like talk to a therapist if you're always rude to people or you're always angry and you can't break that cycle, you feel stuck. Right. But so much can happen when you take care of yourself in those, you know, just as little as 10 minutes a day. You might need more if you're extra cranky though, but
double dose. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so, you know, you mentioned a couple of things that I would like to explore a little bit more. Now, you said that, so we talked about, you know, how everything got started, but we didn't talk about the, you know, the fear that you may have had or that you had to navigate getting started, right? So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, sure. I think whenever you get started in any career, right? When you're doing something and you're helping people, you always have the fear, do you know enough? Right. And how I accomplished and got over that was just really, I'm a research nerd and I just took time to really dig in. I am very lucky. I was raised by people who freed me from the opinions of others.
Oh, nice.
And yes, yeah, they're not perfect parents, but as I always talk about them, Tony and Philomena, immigrants from Italy, really taught me, don't give a crap what other people think.
Nice.
And when you do that, you don't have to be perfect. And perfection is a terrible, terrible thing you can never be perfect. And so like in this pandemic, I wrote 4 books in 4 months, right?
Oh, that's awesome. You're very productive.
I'm very productive because there's going to be a typo. Don't send me an email about it. Even though I had a book editor, I'm sure there's something in there needs to be fixed. But when we just say we're doing this, our heart is in it, right? Yeah. So I don't do anything unless it's a hell yeah. If it's a not a hell yeah, it's a hell no, right? So that's really important. And then I only means I'm doing things I love and I believe in. So I'm super grateful for 30 years I've been able to do stuff that I love. There are moments when I'm really irritated, yes. And it's usually because I'm this trailblazer. I'm pushing the limits all the time, what we think we know about mental health. And I'm always like, did you see this research? Did you see that? Come on, nice. Let's go, people. And, it's not okay that everyone is on all of these psychiatric medications, yet totally still struggling. That means we're not doing things right? So we need to look at the data. We need to look at other research, right? Emerging research, peer-reviewed research, and we need to present this information to people in a way that's digestible, which I do, and that's my whole work. But, I think that, we always have these natural fear points. I am generally pretty fearless. I think the time where I struggle with fear is just in parenting. When my kids have struggled with something, my older son has chronic Lyme and PANDAS, and he's an externalizer. He's a kid that at different points, he's that obnoxious kid. He's the kid that struggled to make friends. He's the kid that emotionally dysregulates. And that's been hard because here I am, I've been able to help him, but it has been a long road and it is not easy when your kid is struggling. It is the worst thing in the world to see your kid struggling. And that has brought more fear into my life than any other thing, right? Wow. Me going and doing my dissertation, piece of cake. Me going and speaking in front of the park. Yeah, right. Me speaking and going on TV all the time. I don't even get nervous at all. Like I'm like, bring it. You know what I mean? So nice. I'm waiting for the TA show in GMA to call me. It's almost happening.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
But so it's and what's that fear for me is my child. There's no, in those situations, there wasn't control. Right. You know what I mean? So I had to change my mindset. I had to get more in that moment and connect in that moment and be grateful for those moments that has had, in there. The good and bad has brought some great things into my life. It's also brought a lot of sadness for things because when your kid is challenging and has mental health issues, boy, does it repel people. Boy, do people leave your life. Boy, do people say things to you like, well, why don't you just send him to a psychiatric hospital? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you do that? Well, I didn't ask you.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty unbelievable. Bold. That's really bold.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens to people because they don't know what to make out of, if he was a meek kid and just sitting in the corner worried, nobody would think twice about him. Right. But if your kid is angry and mental health runs the gamut from internalizers to externalizers, right? Mm-hmm. So we have these kids that are worried or adults that are worried, and we have kids that are violent and adults that are violent and aggressive in their talk, in their actions. And, our jails and our police interactions, 50% of police interactions involve somebody with mental health problems. Our hospitals are filled with people with mental health problems. Like we have moved into this crisis mentality for supporting people with mental health. And that's why I focus so much on kids, because there's so much we can do, and parents are highly motivated to help their kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you for the work that you do, because it's definitely needed, and appreciated. So, and it's very disheartening to hear that you were told those not so nice things that you were told about
I
your
know. And
child.
I'm no different than other parents. Other parents are told that all the time,
Wow.
In my summit myself, Bob Hope's granddaughter was there, and my friend JJ Virgin, who's essentially a celebrity. All three of our kids were kicked out of preschool and were told horrible things right to our face about our kids.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter who you are. This happens to people. We should never say that. We should never be told that. No kid is bad. I don't care how old they are. No kid is bad. They're acting in a way because they don't know another way, or their their brain is hijacked. We need to provide more support, and this pandemic is going to show itself that we really need to be
really
proactive.
Bad. Yeah.
People are hurting. The research, the survey research is already showing such an uptick in anxiety and depression and suicides. So amongst adults as well. So, we really need to recalibrate and teach people about how to regulate their nervous system with, diet and exercise, and, these different types of therapies that are very helpful. Simple breath work, dramatic impact on your brain and body functioning. So people just don't know. And that's why I do these conversations.
And there's a reason why the Apple Watch tells you to breathe.
Exactly. Right.
Cause I'm like, my watch will like ping, okay, breathe.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I better do that.
I better breathe.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously intentional breathing. It's not like, I'm being facetious, but that, it's a simple thing, but like you said, it can be pretty profound in its effect, because
you just got to do it.
Focusing on that thing. And then, yes, it is a matter of actually doing it, just like the 10-minute exercise that you recommend on a daily basis, making a huge difference over time. The same thing is true with, the breathing, the breath work, and like really focusing on your breath. I mean, there is also a reason why people who do yoga are not angry people.
I mean, hello. And they're very cordial and community oriented.
Very much. And they're all about how can I make the world better? Why? Because they they understand that. Like they even set an intention before they start their practice. Like there's so many elements of that are just like so applicable. Like if we did these things that, we probably would be better off,
Absolutely. We need more yogis in the world is really what.
There you go. There you go. More yogis.
Most kids love yoga. Like
they do.
They do.
They certainly do. My kids love bending all over the place and doing yoga.
Absolutely. And yogis focus on breath, that's where they start with that breath work and connecting to their body. And then, once your kids are more aware of their body, then they know like, oh, I'm upset about something. I better take a second and figure out what that is. Instead, we're just disconnecting all the time, and everybody's shoving everything down. And they think, well, I don't want to deal with that. I have a difficult child, or maybe I lost my job, or whatever it is. I'm going to go take a pill because I don't want to deal with this right now. When doing the work and being uncomfortable, it's a sign you're supposed to take care of things. Right. And there's so much more that people can do. Right. So it's not to shame people on medications, to say that there's still more work to be done. If you're that dysregulated and doesn't matter how you shove it down, healthy or unhealthy ways, it's going to creep back up. So address those issues in the best possible way that you can, and don't try to avoid them, because they're going to show up in ways you don't like, and not when it's convenient.
Indeed. No, that's great advice. Absolutely fantastic. So you need to let us know. So you mentioned all the books, right? So I don't know which book you would like to mention, but you need to let the Fearless Freedom Tribe know how they can reach out to you, and what your latest project is.
Yeah. So my book that's coming out, it will be out by the time this is released, is called It's Gonna Be Okay. And it's about proven ways to improve mental health. And has over 40 pages of research just so people can trust what's there. But it really shows you the different ways. It gives you all that information. It shares great, case studies and stories so you can see it into practice. And then you can find me everywhere as Dr. Roseann, and that's DrRoseann. That's my website. That's me on TikTok, Instagram, you name it. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. No, that's important. Yeah, no, it's you've shared some great nuggets today. So appreciate you for doing that. We're at that part of the show where we do our tradition. And I am wondering, Dr. Roseann, if you are ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, awesome. So the first one is, if I am fearless, I will.
If I am fearless, I will always speak my truth.
Love it. The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
To me, fearless freedom means to have people in your life that you love and to be doing things that are only a hell yes.
I really like that hell yes thing.
Just the next time you're unsure, be like, is this a hell yes? Then it's a hell no.
It speaks to boundaries, and that's one of my issues.
Absolutely.
I have some boundary issues.
Yeah.
But
and men are really better at setting boundaries in a lot of ways, and women, we want to please. So it's important. I got to see Oprah in 2020, and she was like, who's in their 40s and 50s? And we were like, ah.
Nice.
And she was like, it's the best thing ever because you get to say no to people.
Yeah, there's
so
that.
Important.
That's true.
So important. Boundaries help you and help others.
That's so true. People do want, they want that, they crave it, even though they don't necessarily know it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. And then the last one is, my battle cry is.
My battle cry is, I'm on a mission to change the way we view and treat mental health.
Love it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, because I know you have a packed schedule, to be with us here on the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast and talking to the Fearless Freedom Tribe. We appreciate you, and keep rocking it with all the amazing work that you're doing, making a difference in the mental health of children. So we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And, I say my book is called It's Going to Be Okay because I want everybody to know it's going to be okay. And it's what I tell every parent. So start by taking care of yourself. Best advice I can give every single person who's listening right now.
So important. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.